What if everything you've been taught about success is incomplete? What if the key to unlocking true abundance isn't about taking more, but about giving first? Today, we uncover the astonishing journey of a man who transformed his destiny, not through sheer luck, but by embracing a profound, timeless principle. Prepare to witness a radical shift in perspective that could redefine your entire future. This is more than a story. It's a blueprint for anyone seeking to rewrite their own fate. Picture a bustling railway station, a colossal nexus of human ambition and hurried departures. Every day, thousands converged under its soaring archways, their lives intertwined for fleeting moments before trains whisked them away to distant destinations. Amidst this relentless ballet of arrivals and goodbyes, there existed a figure whose life was a stark contrast to the dynamic energy surrounding him. We'll call him the Seeker. For years, the Seeker's world was confined to the grimy platforms and the sparse generosity of strangers. He was a man adrift in a sea of plenty, yet perpetually grasping for crumbs. His days were a monotonous cycle. Find a strategic spot near the ticket counters, extend a hand, utter a practiced plea, and hope for a glint of pity in the eyes of passers-by. He wasn't malicious, merely a product of his circumstances, resigned to a life of dependency. He believed his fate was sealed, an unchangeable script dictated by an indifferent world. One sweltering afternoon, as the station hummed with its usual frenetic rhythm, the Seeker's gaze landed upon a figure unlike the usual stream of hurried commuters. This man, a well-dressed traveler, moved with an air of quiet confidence that seemed to radiate wealth and purpose. His suit, impeccably tailored, whispered of expensive fabrics and meticulous care. His posture was erect, his stride purposeful, betraying no hint of the fatigue that seemed to weigh down every other soul in the station. To the Seeker, this man was an anomaly, a walking testament to a life he could only fantasize about. A spark of calculation flickered in the Seeker's mind. This wasn't just another passenger. This was a potential lifeline. Surely, a man of such obvious means would possess a generous spirit. With a renewed, albeit desperate surge of hope, the Seeker navigated through the throng, his hand outstretched, a silent appeal already forming on his lips. He imagined a substantial offering, enough to alleviate, even for a short while, the gnawing anxiety of his daily existence. He finally reached the well-dressed traveler, his arm extended, his eyes fixed on the man's face. But instead of the expected jingle of coins or the rustle of a bill, the traveler paused, his gaze meeting the Seeker's with an unsettling intensity. There was no pity, no judgment, only a deep, penetrating curiosity. Then a question, soft yet razor-sharp, sliced through the cacophony of the station. "Tell me, friend, do you always just take from others? Or have you ever, in your entire life, offered something in return?" The words hit the Seeker like a physical blow. He recoiled, his hand instinctively dropping. Confusion clouded his face. In all his years of asking, of enduring scorn and occasional kindness, no one had ever posed such a question. He stammered, his voice uncharacteristically weak. "Sir, I am merely a mendicant. My very survival depends on the compassion of others. I possess nothing to give." He truly believed it. In his impoverished reality, the notion of having something valuable to offer seemed utterly absurd, a cruel joke. The well-dressed traveler offered a small, knowing smile, a gesture that held no malice, only profound understanding. He leaned in slightly, his voice a low, resonant murmur amidst the station's din. "If your conviction is that you possess nothing of value to impart, then by what right do you presume to solicit from others?" The question hung in the air, a profound challenge to the Seeker's entire existence. "I am a man of commerce," the traveler continued. "I operate on the immutable principle of exchange. If you can present me with something of tangible worth, a service, a commodity, a piece of your very essence, then I am prepared to reciprocate. But without that initial offering, I am unable to contribute to your cause." With those words, laden with a wisdom the seeker couldn't yet grasp, the well-dressed traveler turned and boarded his awaiting train, leaving the seeker marooned on the platform, his mind reeling. The train pulled away, a metallic serpent disappearing into the horizon, carrying away not just a passenger, but a revolutionary idea that had just irrevocably altered the seeker's world. The seeker stood frozen, the traveler's words reverberating through the hollow chambers of his mind. If you believe you have nothing to give, then you also have no right to ask. The sheer audacity of the statement, the brutal honesty, was unlike anything he had ever encountered. It wasn't an insult, it was a mirror, reflecting a truth he had consciously or unconsciously avoided his entire life. He had spent decades accepting, always accepting, without ever contemplating the other side of the equation. Had this been the missing piece? The reason why donations were always meager, never substantial? Because he offered nothing in return? The realization was both terrifying and electrifying. That night, sleep offered no escape. The dimly lit corners of his makeshift resting place became a stage for an internal battle. His mind raced, replaying the encounter, dissecting every syllable. What could I possibly offer? I am utterly bereft. Yet the traveler's challenge persisted, a relentless drumbeat in his thoughts. To receive, one must first give. It was a paradigm shift so monumental, it threatened to unravel the very fabric of his identity. 2 days passed in a haze of introspection. The seeker didn't beg, he simply sat, observing the world, but more importantly, observing his own thoughts. He grappled with the traveler's words, trying to make sense of a concept alien to his experience. On the 3rd day, as the morning sun cast long shadows across the tracks, his gaze drifted to a patch of untamed wilderness bordering the railway line. There, pushing through cracks in the concrete, a cluster of wildflowers bloomed in defiant beauty. Their vibrant hues of crimson, gold, and sapphire seemed to mock the gray monotony of his existence, yet they also held a quiet dignity. And then, like a sudden flash of lightning, an idea ignited within him. It was so simple, so utterly unexpected, yet it held the profound resonance of truth. What if I didn't just take? What if I offered something, however small, however seemingly insignificant, in return for the kindness of strangers? What if these humble blossoms, these overlooked miracles of nature, could be his currency? A flicker of determination, a sensation long dormant, stirred within the seeker. He rose, his movements deliberate, imbued with a newfound purpose. He carefully made his way to the embankment, gently plucking a handful of the wildflowers. He didn't rip or tear, he selected, cherishing each delicate bloom as if it were a precious gem. Returning to his usual spot, he held the small bouquet with a reverence he had never before bestowed upon anything in his possession. The next passenger to pass by, a harried woman with a stern expression, offered him a coin with a practiced, almost robotic flick of the wrist. But this time, the seeker did not merely accept. He met her gaze, offered a genuine smile, a smile that reached his eyes, a rarity in his former life, and extended a single, vibrant flower. The woman paused, her brow furrowed in surprise. Her expression softened, a delicate bloom mirroring the one in her hand. She accepted the flower, a faint smile touching her lips, and continued on her way, a little lighter, a little more human. This small act of exchange initiated a ripple effect. The seeker continued his new practice, offering a flower for every offering he received. And the results were astonishing. People, initially bewildered, responded with unexpected warmth. Some smiled, some offered words of thanks, others even lingered for a moment, a brief connection forged in the sterile expanse of the station. What was even more remarkable, the seeker noticed a distinct pattern. When his small bouquet of wildflowers was plentiful, the generosity of the passengers seemed to multiply. Coins turned into small bills, grimaces into genuine smiles. But when his supply of flowers dwindled, so too did the monetary offerings. "It's true," he mused, a surge of triumph welling within him. People genuinely desire to receive something in return. The simple act of giving, even something as ephemeral as a wildflower, transformed the entire dynamic. He was no longer just a recipient of charity. He was an active participant in an exchange, a micro-businessman in his own right. The veil of victimhood began to lift, revealing the nascent outlines of an entrepreneur. Days bled into weeks, and the seeker's small operation flourished. He spent his early mornings gathering the freshest blooms, his afternoons perfecting his gentle art of exchange. One afternoon, amidst the familiar ebb and flow of passengers, his eyes locked onto a familiar figure. It was the well-dressed traveler, once again waiting for a train. A wave of excitement, tinged with a nervous anticipation, washed over the seeker. This was his chance, his opportunity to demonstrate the profound impact of that fateful conversation. He rushed towards the traveler, his bouquet of vibrant wildflowers held aloft like a banner of his transformation. "Sir," he exclaimed, his voice ringing with a newfound confidence, "today I possess something to offer you. If you extend your generosity, I shall present you with these beautiful flowers in return." The well-dressed traveler, his face initially unreadable, broke into a wide, genuine smile. He reached into his pocket, retrieved a generous sum, and accepted several of the proffered blooms. The traveler held the flowers, admiring their simple beauty. His gaze, now filled with an almost paternal pride, rested on the seeker. "My friend," he said, his voice resonating with deep satisfaction, "you have indeed grasped the fundamental essence of true exchange. Today, you stand before me not merely as a mendicant, but as an individual who has transcended his former limitations. You have, in essence, transformed yourself into a man of business." The words, delivered with such conviction, cemented the internal revolution that had been brewing within the seeker. He wasn't just acting like a businessman, he was one. The train's whistle pierced the air, signaling its imminent departure. The well-dressed traveler offered a final, encouraging nod, then boarded his carriage, leaving the seeker once again on the platform. But this time, the seeker was not left in confusion or despair. He stood there, watching the train recede, his mind alight with a dazzling clarity. The traveler's words had unlocked a deeper truth, shattering the last vestiges of the seeker's old identity. "Am I truly a businessman now?" he pondered, his mind racing. Then, with a sudden, breathtaking clarity, the revelation hit him with the force of a tidal wave. People aren't giving me money out of pity anymore. They are compensating me for the value I provide. They are paying for the flowers, for the brief moment of beauty and connection I offer. This wasn't charity, this was commerce. This wasn't begging, this was trading. He had a product, a service, and a market. He had a business. The epiphany was liberating, exhilarating. He wasn't defined by his past, but by his present actions and his future potential. A bold decision, born from this profound realization, solidified in his mind. He couldn't stay here, confined to the margins of a railway station. His vision was larger, his ambition now unbounded. That very day, he gathered his few meager belongings, bade farewell to the only world he had ever known, and walked away from the railway station, never to return as the seeker. He was now the entrepreneur. 6 months later, the railway station continued its ceaseless rhythm, oblivious to the profound personal transformation that had once unfolded within its walls. 2 impeccably dressed men stood on a platform, awaiting their respective trains. One of them was the well-dressed traveler. The other, an equally confident figure, extended his hand in a firm, professional handshake. A flicker of recognition crossed the traveler's face. "Forgive me," he began, a polite curiosity in his tone, "but do I not recognize you?" The second man, now radiating an aura of quiet prosperity, smiled warmly. "Indeed, sir, our paths have crossed twice before, right here, on this very platform, though under vastly different circumstances." The traveler's brow furrowed, sifting through the archives of his memory. Then his eyes widened, a look of profound astonishment spreading across his features. "Wait," he breathed, You are the mendicant, the one I declined to assist and from whom I later purchased those exquisite wildflowers." The former mendicant, now a flourishing entrepreneur, let out a rich, confident laugh. "The very same, sir. But today, my journey takes me far beyond these tracks. I preside over a thriving enterprise, a flower business that has expanded far beyond the dreams of my former self. I am now en route to secure new suppliers, to broaden my reach, to conquer new markets." The well-dressed traveler was utterly captivated, his astonishment giving way to genuine admiration. "This is truly extraordinary. What catalyst ignited such a monumental transformation? What shifted your trajectory so dramatically?" The entrepreneur's smile deepened, a testament to the journey he had undertaken. "You, sir, were that catalyst. You imparted one of life's most profound and enduring truths. We only truly receive in abundance when we are first willing to give. That day, your words ignited a spark. I realized I was never truly a beggar. I was, in essence, an entrepreneur all along. I simply lacked the vision to see it, the courage to believe it, and the wisdom to act upon it." The two men, now equals in spirit and in enterprise, exchanged another handshake, a silent acknowledgement of their shared wisdom. Then, with a respectful nod, they boarded their separate trains, heading towards futures they had each, in their own way, actively sculpted. The moral of their intertwined tale is undeniable. The landscape of your existence is fundamentally shaped by how you perceive yourself. If you confine your self-image to limitations, believing yourself small, insignificant, or perpetually lacking, then those very beliefs will become the boundaries of your reality, forever restricting your potential. But conversely, if you possess the clarity, the foresight to recognize the boundless potential, the inherent strength, and the dormant capabilities that lie within your very being, then you unlock a universe of possibilities. Therefore, I implore you, do not fall prey to self-imposed constraints. Refuse to be defined by past failures or current circumstances. See yourself not as you are, but as you are meant to be. Envision yourself as a force of nature, capable, resilient, and destined for unparalleled success. Because when the canvas of your thoughts undergoes a radical change, when your internal narrative shifts from scarcity to abundance, from limitation to liberation, from a taker to a giver, know this with absolute certainty: your entire future, your entire destiny will inevitably and irreversibly transform right along with it. The power to rewrite your story resides not in external validation, but in the unwavering belief in your own intrinsic worth. Embrace it, unlock it, live it.